Edgar Allan, Chapter 20. Well, what happened was that Joe Ryder was a pretty smart guy. I guess when you're a reporter, you have to keep finding things out ahead of other people. Still, even though we found out how smart he was, I felt he was cheating too. What he did was wait until the next day. Stephen and Sally Ann, who were still only in kindergarten, no matter what she sounds like, come home every day at lunchtime since they only have a half day of school. For the last few weeks, Mother had been letting S.A. take charge of Stephen and E.A., and she would lead them home, which wasn't too far, whenever the weather got nice. It was a nice day. Joe Ryder met S.A. and Stephen Paul and walked with them. For some reason, Ryder explained that what had really happened. I guess he felt he had to get S.A. to tell him what had happened from her side of the story. He said that E.A. could have stayed, but we sent him back ourselves. That he didn't have any real parents. They had died when he was a very small baby, which is how we got him, through the adoption agency. And for some reason, we had decided to send him back, to return him, because we were unhappy with him. What Ryder wanted to know was why we were unhappy with Edgar Allan. What had happened that would make us send him away? Naturally, S.A. and Stephen Paul didn't know what he was talking about, but they did know enough to be frightened and confused. Maybe that isn't what Ryder was really trying to do, but it sure is what he did. Sally came home crying like crazy, wanting Father to explain, but Father wasn't home, so Mother tried. I guess she didn't do a good enough job for S.A., because when I came home, both S.A. and S.P. were outside waiting for me. "Michael!" S.A. shouted when she saw me. "Michael!" And she ran down the path. Stephen Paul was right behind her and grabbed me around the waist, crying. Stephen snuck in close too and hung on to me as tight as he could. "Michael," Sally Ann said at last through her sniffles, "why did we give E.A. away? We loved him, didn't we? We did. Why did we? Why?" I tried to pull them both off of me a little so I could move over to under the big tree. "Now listen," I said. "What happened wasn't your fault, S.A., or yours either, Stephen. It was in any way at all." "Whose is it?" Michael asked. "Whose fault is it, Michael?" Sally asked. "We loved him. I did. I loved him." "Me too," said Stephen. "So we couldn't have wanted him to go, ever," S.A. cried. Well, now, I said, sort of stalling, because I really didn't know what to say next. "What did Mother tell you?" "I don't know," Sally Ann said blankly. "What do you mean you don't know? What did she say?" "Well," Sally Ann hesitantly, "I couldn't understand. She said it wasn't our fault." "There, you see," I said quickly. "That's exactly what I said." She said, Sally Ann said, her eyes beginning to fill with tears again, that it wasn't anyone's fault, that there was something that just didn't work out. "Well," I said, "that's simple, then, isn't it?" "But what does it mean?" Sally Ann asked. "Well, it means that it hasn't anything to do with us. That's what I tried." "But it has," S.A. shouted. "Mr. Ryder told us so. He said E.A. could have stayed here forever if we wanted him to. I wanted him to." "Me too," Stephen added. "Me too," I said finally. Sally Ann stopped crying and just stood where she was a moment. At last she took Stephen by the hand and walked back toward the house. I watched her go, determined, sort of, wanting someone to explain once and for all to her. She stopped suddenly and pulled Stephen Paul to her and turned back to face me. "Michael." What? Who decides when things work out? I don't know what to say. If Daddy could give Edgar Allan away, why couldn't he give us away, SP or me?